Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Iggy's Toy Parade and Soldier Review. This is your host, Iggy, and today I'm going to lie to you. What you see here is British Troops by Accurate. And Accurate was a toy company formed in Great Britain in the 1980s. In fact, I don't know a great deal about Accurate because when I looked it up online, there wasn't very much information about it. I don't believe that they're manufacturing toy soldiers any longer. However, you can still get them. They're still available if you go to various hobby stores and also on eBay. I highly recommend these figures. I think they're very well done. But I'm going to lie to you. These are not, I repeat, these are not figures from the French and Indian War. Now, the French and Indian War was from 1754 to 1760, and it was actually a world war. It was fought all over the world. But here in America, we call it the French and Indian War. Elsewhere, it was called the 7 Years' War. Or I guess it was 6 years. Well, they call it the 7 Years' War, even though I don't know why it says six. The war was six. Never mind. Let's not get into that. It was called the 7 Years' War, and in America, the French and Indian War. And in America, it was fought mostly in New England and Canada. Now, the illustration you see in the back is from an American Heritage book on the French and Indian War. And it shows the moment when Braddock was shot through the lungs, General Braddock. And the poor guy had to endure sitting in the back of a cart, bumping along the bumpy road for 2 days before he finally died. And they buried him in the middle of the road. And the reason they did that is because they didn't want the Indians to dig him up and desecrate his body by scalping him or mutilating him, because they believed that in the afterlife they would bear those same mutilations. So they buried him in the middle of the road, and it wasn't until much later that they disinterred him and disinterred him. They did what with a turd? I'm not sure. Anyway, they dug him back up and they reburied him. Now, if you go to Pennsylvania, you can go along the road where Braddock's army was ambushed by the French and their Native American allies. And there was also a battle between George Washington and his small command at a fort that he named Fort Necessity, which was in sort of like a meadow, and it was poorly constructed because they had to erect it in a hurry, and the French and Indians occupied a higher ground and was able to fire down into the fort. Anyway, it was a disaster for Washington. His first command, and it ends in disaster like that. At any rate, that fort has been rebuilt, and you can still go see it today. My brother and I took a tour of that. Now, these figures are from the Revolutionary War, and they're wonderful. Now, I remember buying these from Stone Castle Imports in the 1980s, and they just came in a big bag. And I think I bought like 50 of them for $20 or some such thing. And this is back in the 80s, so you probably got more for your buck back in those days. And I did plan on painting them, which you see here. I was going to paint them, but I discovered rather quickly that I can't paint very well. My hands are, even back then, my hands were shaky. And that's a while ago, but my hands were shaky, and even back then, my vision was poor. Oh, look, I found another figure. He must have fallen. These figures are I don't like this pose. That looks like, I don't know of anyone who runs like this. See how far up his leg is in the air? Like he's trying to kick himself in the butt. But there are some figures that I think are very well done, such as the flag bearer here. Let's show you a close-up of him. Is it focusing? It's supposed to be an automatic focus, but it looks blurry to me. I don't know if that's my eyesight or the camera's not focusing. But they have figures marching and standing guard. And they have NCOs and drummers. Got quite a number of drummers. Officers, he's holding a sword. Then they also have officer lunging with his sword. And these are all series 1. They came out with another set called, oddly enough, they called it series 2. And it was a firing line, which had figures standing and firing and also kneeling and firing. And it came with one officer, which where'd he go? Here, this guy right here. But I love these figures, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to buy so many of them, especially since they're harder to get now. But like I mentioned a few minutes ago, they are still available. You can get them on eBay and also at hobby stores, some hobby stores. Now, I remember when after buying them at Stonecastle Imports, I was able to buy a box of them at a drugstore. I guess what they call an apothecary in England. I don't know. At any rate, they came in a white box that had a painting on the cover, and then on either side of the painting was a line drawing. And they were pretty affordable. And if you do not have these, I recommend that you get a hold of some of them because they're pretty good. I especially like the firing positions. They're excellent. And let's see if we can get a little closer. Let's do this guy over here. Here we go. I hope it's focusing for you. Now, I said I started out this video with a lie. These are not 7-year war figures. They're wearing uniforms from the Revolution. You can see here's an officer from the French and Indian War. You can see his coat is much longer. He has much larger sleeves. So it's quite different. He's got boots that go up past his knees. Whereas these officers are wearing boots that are not quite so high. I suppose this guy's wearing knee-high boots. Let's take a look. And that's exactly what I didn't want to have happen. So now it's a jumbled mess. I can't see it, but it looks like he's wearing like a Wellington boot. What they called a Wellington boot, even though Wellington was probably uh, not in the army at that time. Maybe he was a boy, I don't know. At any rate, guys, I'm going to try and show you some more accurate figures. I have colonial militia, which I'm going to show you. Not as many as the Brits I have here, but I'm very fond of these figures. And I had them set up with a Ford Apache, and that's another one of Iggy's misleading lies. But it's hard to get French and Indian War figures. At the time in the 80s, now the armies in plastic make some now, and Barzo made some, so you can get them now. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you this time, and I hope you're all having a good day, and take care of yourselves, and I'll just suddenly say goodbye.